I have been working on a 2007 Chevy Tahoe with a 5.3 liter LS motor in it. Came to me originally because it had a really bad tick. Turned out being one of the lifters had collapsed and was ticking. It was causing a misfire on cylinder 4. Cylinder 4 is one of the DOD lifters, or DOD cylinders as they say, which is displacement on demand. All that is just basically shuts 4 cylinders off for better fuel economy, which that's a load of crap. It's literally for emissions only. Anyway, pulled the head off, took the lifter out, inspected the cam to make sure that the cam was good. Cam was good. So we got all the new parts ordered. Customer only wanted to do one lifter because it's all he could afford at the time, which, you know, it's not something I normally do, but in this circumstance, considering I understand exactly what he's going through with his grandson, he had to go through and he had to adopt his own grandson, so he's been going through a rough patch basically. So I get the parts, get it all cleaned up, you know, get everything put back together, put the head on, put the intake on, connect all the wiring and everything, fire it up, and I still have a misfire. And I look at it, and I've got my scanner on, and it's giving me a dead miss on the same exact cylinder, cylinder 4. So I go through the testing. Okay, did I forget to plug something in? Did the spark plug crack? You know, like what might be the case? Checked spark plugs, checked wires, checked injectors, checked coil packs. Nothing out of the ordinary. Everything was working tip-top shape. Ran and grabbed my compression tester, did a compression test on cylinder 2 and cylinder 6. Both are sitting above 150 psi, which is perfect numbers for that. I go to cylinder 4 and I run a compression check and I got 0. No compression whatsoever. And I'm like, okay, well, it had compression before I messed with it. Wonder what happened. So I did a leak down test. Compression still didn't go up. So I was like, that eliminates the bottom end. Now we got to work on the top end and see what's going on. It took me about a week of messing with it to finally figure it out. The intake rocker on cylinder 4, they have a sequence that you do, and you're supposed to tighten them down on each cylinder of the rocker, whether it be intake or exhaust. It's 22 foot-pounds. It's as far as you're supposed to go. And there's a whole sequence that you're supposed to go through to tighten down each rocker in each order. And I had done that. The intake rocker on cylinder 4, if you torqued it down to 22 foot-pounds, would hang the valve open maybe a 1/16 of an inch, which is all you need to have a problem with compression. Because what happens? All that air that's supposed to be getting compressed is going up into the intake. It's not getting compressed like it's supposed to. And at the same time, I was getting a misfire on, I think it was cylinder 3 or cylinder 1. Don't remember specifically because it's been a couple of days. But it's a companion cylinder to cylinder 4. That's all I remember. So I was like, all right, what's going on here? I started looking things over. I was like, maybe the rocker arms took a crap. Maybe the tray that holds the rocker arm in place took a crap. So I got a different rocker arms. I got a whole different set of push rods and a different tray. Installed it all. Same exact issue. And I did that. I was like, all right, something's not right. Something internal in that engine that I can't see is not right. So today I finally said, you know what? I got to tear it apart again. Maybe it's something that I boo-booed or whatever the case may be. You know, I guess I'll handle it if it was my mistake. So I get the intake off, I get the exhaust off, I pull the head out, and I pull the lifters out. And from the naked eye, you can't really see anything wrong. I'm like, well, what in the world's going on? So I get back down in there and get my camera out. I look at the cam. The cam is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that cam. It's like, all right. So I pull the lifters out and I bring them over to my workbench. And what do I do with them? Oh, there they are. So I'm like, let's check these out, because it's only on cylinder 4. Okay, only cylinder 4. So like I said, with the naked eye, this is the new one, this is the original. Okay, this is the good one that I pulled out of cylinder 4. This is the brand new one that replaced the collapse lifter on cylinder 4 intake. Okay, now if I put these two together, literally butt them up, you can't really tell a difference, right? You can't. Although, if I set it down on the table and I zoom in really closely, I'm going to do that real quick here. I'm going to zoom in right there, okay? It's hard to see, but ever so slightly, it looks like the older one is slightly longer. I was like, okay, well, how's that? Because the exhaust side, which is the old one right here, was doing perfectly fine. I had no problems with that one. It was strictly this one, because this was the one I had on the intake. Brand new, by the way. So I said, okay, what's new? So I took these and I flipped them upside down. I grabbed some push rods. Mind you, they are completely straight. There's no bends. There's nothing wrong with them. And I put them into each other. And then, this is the hard part, because it's kind of hard for me to do this with the camera. But I'm going to try to do this best that I can for you guys to see this. But I put them together. See if I can get them to stay. Because, you know, push rods and all that good stuff. Come on. Alright, anyway. So I put them together. And I started looking at it. And I was like, wait a minute. Something's not right. If you see, the left side sits higher. That is the new lifter right there. The left side is exactly about the same height that was causing that valve to hang open. Luckily, it didn't damage anything. It didn't hit the piston. The valve is perfectly straight. There's no issues. But that's my issue. A brand new lifter right there sits ever so slightly higher than the original one. And some people might be, well, it's a used lifter, you know, and it's probably just a little compressed. That's normal, you know, blah, blah, blah. No. This is exactly what my issue is. This new lifter is overextended in the bore, so it sits higher. And I apologize about that. It just seems like lately, with me, it's just my luck that I keep getting the oddest, weirdest problems to possibly have on anything, on any repairs. And it's been mostly, you know, probably manufacturer's defects when it comes to the parts. But with that being said, lesson learned on my side that I would like to relay to you guys is always, and I mean always, inspect your parts. I don't care if they're new from the junkyard, whatever the case may be. Inspect the new parts before you install them, especially if they're going inside the engine, where it's something that you can't just simply unscrew a couple bolts and pull out. In this case, I literally had to take the head gasket off, another oil change, and it needs more coolant again, along with head bolts, head gasket, and intake manifold gasket again, along with exhaust manifold gasket. Could have saved myself all that problem if I would have looked at it beforehand. Granted, I wasn't going to know. I mean, how are you going to know this stuff? But lesson learned, always check your parts. Always check what you're doing before you finish it. Before you install parts in the vehicle. Look the old one over versus the new one. Look at every single detail that you possibly can, on internal parts especially. Because then you'll run into issues like this, and you could have saved yourself so much time, so much effort, so much energy, and money from having to go through and replace all the parts, all the fluids, all the liquids that you literally just paid for and just installed in the vehicle.